Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be this Mitchell 308X Gold Series reel that Paul sent me. And Paul would like for me to create a YouTube video on this. And the reel, it's a beautiful reel. It looks like it's hardly ever been used, but it does feel very sluggish. So we're going to take it apart, service it, and see if we can get it back out there to Paul. All right, I'm going to start off by taking off the spool. There we go. Let's take a look at the drag. All right, well, that's definitely a little bit different snap ring setup in there. That is one that's a little heavier duty as far as the snap ring is concerned, but I don't think it'll present us any problems. We'll have to service that in a little bit. We look underneath at the clicker. High quality clicker. I like this reel, everything I see about it so far. It's a really nice high quality looking reel. All right, I'll take that off. Now we're going to take the handle off. Just rotate it counterclockwise. And I'm going to go ahead and lubricate this. It does not have an oil port at the top, and it spins right here on this. Let's see if we have a screw in there to take this apart. I believe there is, but I'm having difficulty seeing down inside there. It appears that there's a screw head. So let's see if there really is. I don't see one in it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and lubricate right around. See right there where it moves in and out? We're going to put a little oil there and spin that up to get that oil to travel down inside there. Put a little bit more. I'd much rather over oil this than under oil it. We can always wipe off the excess. There we go. Okay, now on this end down here, this unscrews. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that and unscrew it all the way out and slide it up just a little bit. And I've got just a little bit of dirt in there. We're going to clean that little bit of dirt out. And then we'll add a drop of oil there. Maneuver it around a little bit. And we're going to put a drop of oil on the threads. Right there. Okay. And we'll put this back together. And that should hold that for a while. Let's go ahead while we're at it and add a drop of oil back on this end of it. Unscrew it and screw it back down one more time to get that oil worked in there. Okay. And I think that handle's ready to go. Set that over to the side. All right, let's take a look at what we've got now. All right, it appears that we're going to have to take the rotor off to take the side plate off because it goes up underneath the rotor. So let's take a look up top what we've got. Okay, we've got a bearing at the top. We're going to set that over to the side and oil it. Let that start to soak in. And okay, we've got a small drag washer there. I'll set that down. And well, this is new. This is a new one on me, so we're gonna see if we can get this clicker to slide off of here. And it does not look like it wants to budge at all. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to leave that in place. We're going to remove the screw down here. It holds this locking plate. Okay, set that screw over to the side so we know where it's at. And we're going to see if we can remove the locking plate, and it may or may not come all the way off, and it does not come all the way up. Does it come off? No, we're going to leave it in place. All right, and now we're going to have to take a wrench and put it on the nut. Okay, we're going to move that ring out of the way, put the wrench on now. Okay, it is counterclockwise in a normal configuration. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll unscrew that. That should allow us to pull the rotor up like so. That now should allow us to pull this side plate off. It's got these really pretty gold-plated screws, so you want to be careful with them so that you don't mar them up. Make sure that you're steady in the screw hook on it for each turn that you do, and it's not slipping. Okay, I have a feeling that this butt plate may have to come off first, but we'll see. All right, all four of these screws are identical, so we're going to move those over to the side together. And we're going to see if we can pull this side cover plate off. There we go. Comes out and off, and the main gear came with it. Okay. Got some old grease in it, but aside from that, it looks all right. Okay, there's our bearing on the side. We're going to go ahead and lubricate that and check to make sure that it turns, and it does. And if you look down inside, you'll see there's another one on the other side as well, and we're going to go ahead and lubricate that one and make sure that it turns, and it does. Okay. Now we're going to remove this screw that holds the axle shaft in place. First, we'll get some of this grease out of the way so we can see what we're doing. And we will remove this screw. Now, they even put gold pieces inside. It's a really sweet looking reel. Okay, set that screw over to the side, and now we should be able to take our axle shaft out. And now all the rest of this will come out. Now we've got to remember that when we put this back, the axle shaft back in, these two pieces are going to have to be on there when we put it in. All right, so we're going to leave them together right there. We'll clean them, and then we'll put them right back together right there. All right, here's our spool, or sorry, our rotor. And the rotor looks good. Got a little dirt and corrosion over here. We're going to clean that up. Okay, but it's functioning well. So we may not take that one apart. Normally we do, but since this is not my reel, this one belongs to Paul. I don't want to take a chance on messing anything up in it. So, but we still might. We'll see. We'll see how my confidence level runs when I get there. Okay, we get to this side, and we've got a washer. One, it's keyed. Okay, and told this thing to lock so it wouldn't focus anymore. Now it's, there we go. That's keyed washer. We'll set that over to this side. All right. Oh, look at this guy. This is our anti-reverse. All right, now you want to get a nice clear shot of that. See the spring down inside there? We're going to have to be able to put that back there if we take this apart. Okay, so getting that spring in there doesn't look like something that's going to be a whole lot of fun, but we can manage. We'll get it. All right, so we're going to take out this screw right here and this screw. Now these screws may not be the same. We'll see. We'll lay them down here side by side. That's the one that came from the foot side. Okay, now we can easily see how that spring goes in there. So when we take this out, we'll be able to get it back in there easier. And we definitely want to be very, very careful that we don't shoot this spring across the room. So the way I'm going to do that is that I'm going to use a safety pin, and I'm going to hook it into the spring and use it to lift it up and out like so, and that way I've got it hooked on, and we'll pull it out. And I normally have a safety pin sitting here ready to go that it doesn't have a bent hook on the end of it. In this case I don't, so let me get one. All right, I've got a safety pin that's not bent now. I'm going to put the spring on there so that I can't lose it, like that. Okay, we'll lay it over to the side, and now we should be able to take out, oh no, oh, this is one of those guys. We got an anti-reverse that has all the ball bearings, and they're loose ball bearings, which means we've got to put them all back in there. See how they're falling out? Well, we're going to have to put them back in there. And they've all fallen out. And that's fine. We can do that. What we'll do is we'll set it back in place, and we'll put a little bit of grease on here, and we'll go back and we'll stick those to the grease, and then we'll set them back in. But in the meantime, we want to clean up our pinion gear. Our bearings look very good. We'll set them over here. Don't panic, Paul. We're okay. And we'll take out this sleeve, which is for that gear, and we're going to build that up separate over here to the side, and then we'll slide it back on as a whole. Okay, but in the meantime, we'll clean up the pinion gear. This washer goes on gear side, and this looks really good. Okay, and so far I don't see that much that could be sticking. Okay, when we took this off over here, okay, this is a bearing seat right there, and this is the one that I thought might be dragging a little bit. We're going to clean it up. It's got a lot of dirt in it. We're going to clean that up. Then this spacer goes on top of that, and this washer goes on top of that. Okay, like so. Okay, that's got all those ready to go. And the rest of this, I think we're going to clean in place. It can be taken out. If you look right here, all right, see this screw right here? That screw holds on this metal plate right, or sorry, this plastic plate on the back, the bump plate. Okay, if you take that off, then these two metal rods right here and right here will slide out back this way, which will allow you to take this pawl assembly out, which also will allow you to take out this gear, your worm gear, and then you can take all that out and clean it. But my suggestion is that you do not take that out. What I'm going to suggest you do is clean all of that right in place, unless you absolutely have to take it apart for some reason. And since I don't think parts are available for this anymore, I'm going to suggest that you probably won't want to take it out at all. I'm going to go ahead off camera for a minute and clean this up. All right, that cleaned up beautifully. Now what did happen while I was cleaning this is this cap fell off right here. And when that came off, that gave me exposure to the pawl that goes inside there. And so I went ahead and slipped that out. And now I'm going to go back and grease up this gear and the worm gear. And go ahead and slide this over to the side and make sure I got plenty of grease on there. And I'm using super lube on this. All right, with that done, I'm going to take and put the pawl back in. Now that's got to go in. See those teeth right there? Well, those teeth have got to go in, running along the lines of these grooves right here. Okay, so when you put it in, you got to line that up and get it to a line. When you've got it right, you'll know, because what you'll be able to do is as you spin the gear, it's going to move up and down all the way back and forth like it should, like so. Okay, and now on top of that, it's going to fit this piece right here, like so, right there. Okay, and when we put that screw back in, I put it upside down, I did. Okay, goes like this. Okay, with the large end of the hole down on the other end like that, so that the bevel of the screw will go down inside there and hold that in. Okay, now that's as far as this is going to go for a minute. We're going to set it over to the side, and we're going to work on putting this back together. Okay, now what happened is we took this out and all of these pieces fell out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to add grease. And now this is a friction fit, so normally you don't want to have grease in here, but the grease is what it takes to hold this together, and it will prevent this from sticking up, so it's going to be okay. All right, once we've got it in, we'll wipe the excess grease off. We're going to take these little bearings one at a time and slip them into their slots like that. One bearing in. Two bearings in. Three bearings. Four. 5 and 6. All right, that's got all those bearings back in place. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to take this piece slid inside the housing over here. I took it out. I'll show you how it slides in. But these are going to go down inside here like that. Okay? And that will allow it to turn one way and not the other. Or at least that's the way it's supposed to work. Yeah, it turns this way. Now the plastic piece will not rotate, okay? The plastic piece will stay in place. So we'll get it lined up, and hopefully I've got it in the right position. Okay, the plastic piece is going to go up that way. See this notch? See this notch right here? There's one on each side. Well, that's what these little arms on here go, and that's going to fit down into there like so. Okay, this is all built up and ready to go back in. But before we can put that in, we've got to put our pinion gear in. And our pinion gear is nice and clean. We're going to grease the pinion gear. Like so. We're going to sit it down like this. And now, remember, this small washer goes on first, like so. And then this is going to slide down inside here, like that. And it's going to mesh to that other gear. Well, that was good. It even stayed in place. How do you like that? All right, now with that done, we're going to pick this assembly up, and it's going to slide down inside here, and it's keyed. It's got the look at the center. It's keyed to this shaft. Get it keyed in, and then gently slide it down until these fingers mesh with the sides, like so. And now that's going to slide down like that. Okay, we've got it back in there. All right, but Now, we've got to go back and put this little spring back in. Okay. And what happened here? When this fell out. Oh, there it is. There's our pawl. We're going to have to put that back in a minute. All right. Now we've got to put this spring back in. Now the spring is going to go on the end. See, the end of it fits right there on that tab. Okay, we're going to slide it in, ease it down until it fits down in that groove. And it's fighting me, which is usual. That's what springs have a tendency to do. It's got to go all the way down in that cup right there. And I'm trying to hold it where I can't see very well, but hopefully you guys can see, and that's making it somewhat difficult. Yep, I had it in, it popped back out. All right, there's the spring down in the hole. All right, now that we've got the anti-reverse bearing back in here, we've got the spring installed, we're going to come back and we're going to install this bearing and their bearing retainer. I've cleaned them up now and it's turning nice and free. Let's go ahead, give it another drink of oil, and let's slip that back on like so. And we'll go ahead and slide this collar back on, although it doesn't have to go on just yet. Okay, now we're going to put the bearing retainer back on and put these two screws back in. All right, next is going to go this washer. Goes on top like that. Okay. All right, one more time. We're going to put this, okay, the pawl's already in. We're going to set, let's go ahead and rotate this around and bring the pawl all the way to the front, because when we put this all back together, we're going to need this to be way at the front in order to make room for the rotor to fit in. Okay. And I put it on upside down. Once more. There we go. Okay, the pawl's been lubricated. The shaft has been lubricated. All this is good. Okay, I'm going to take this nut and this retainer, well, off for a second and wipe this axle shaft off, like so. Get it nice and clean. And I swear that does look like that should slide off. And it probably does, but I don't want to mar it up. It's not mine. I'm not going to mar it up trying to take it off when I know that I can put it together the way that it is. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to oil this shaft. We're going to slide this retaining ring back on. We're going to slide this nut back on. And notice it's got beveled edges. The beveled edges go towards the clicker cog. Okay, now first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and slide this in, and that's what I tend to do all the time, but that's not where we're at. Before we can do that, we've got to come back over here and slide our rotor back in. So this is going to go inside the rotor, slide up like so. Now we can come back and slide this in. Okay. And this is where we've got to have enough clearance to make everything clear like it's supposed to. The flat spot has got to go inside the gear. This poor Band-Aid is looking pretty rough. There. That looks a little better, less likely to cause me grief. Okay, now we're going to take our pawl retainer and set it one last time. Got to make sure that axle shaft is lined up with the hole. Put that pawl retainer back into place, and it is giving me a fit trying to get it to stay in place. It doesn't want to do so. There. And now we're going to put this screw back in and stop having to worry about that pawl. There we go. All right. That's set in place. I still haven't cleaned up this gear yet. Okay, here's our main gear. Now notice the main gear's got these shims over here on this side. Do not lose them. This one's got 2, and they can vary. I've seen from none to quite a few be on there before. Make sure you know what you've got when you take it apart so that you know what you're putting back in when you put it back together. Now we're going to grease up the gear. And we're going to put a little bit of oil right here on this shaft to make it slide into the bearing on that side easier. We're going to zoom in just a little bit, not a lot, because I tend to forget that I'm zoomed, and then we end up with things not in the camera. We're going to oil that bearing one last time, and then we're going to slide this main gear down in and see if we can get it to mesh. Okay. And it does. Okay. Or it appears to. Yes. All right, we're going to slide the rotor back out so that we can put this side plate back on. There's our side plate. And once again, we're going to oil it again. And we're going to slip the side plate back into place. Snap it down. We're going to come back and put the 4 screws back in. Okay. Next, we want to make sure our rotor's down all the way. And we're going to get this nut started again, which isn't that easy to do with that retainer ring in the way. Because it wants to keep grabbing. You want to keep grabbing hold of it instead of the nut. Okay, what I'm going to do then is see if I can get this retainer to just kind of temporarily hook up there on the clicker cog until I get this started. There we go. And we'll drop that back down, get it to come around and line up on this hole on the other side. Okay, like so. There we go. And now we will put our screw back down. Okay, that's turning nicely. All right, now we're going to come back. Well, before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at this handle. First off, let's go ahead and put the handle back on because we're done with that portion of this. Let's zoom this back out so you can see what I'm doing. Let's crank this handle down, tighten it. Okay. All right, now I feel just a little bit of gritty in this when I rotate this. And yes, I could just add some oil, but if you look here, I think there's just some old dirt in there. And much as I dislike the idea of doing it, we're going to take this apart. And we may do it one side at a time. We'll see. Let's start off on the easy, what I think is the easy side, which should be this one. Let's try getting the dirt out of this side first. Okay, screws out. That should just pop out of there. It did, okay. Oh, and that brings us to a new screw, one that we haven't seen. All right, let's go ahead and get any dirt out that's in this part. That's not too bad. It's got some sand in it. Okay, and now let's go ahead and take this screw out. And you can see, well, let's zoom in. You can see the dirt and grime that's in there. And I think that's primarily what was causing it to feel gritty, at least on this side. I'm going to clean that out. Clean it out on this side as well. Yeah, see all the sand in there? Yeah, that's the reason that we had to take it apart. And I possibly could have flushed that out by keeping spraying WD-40 in it, but I tend to like to take things apart and get all the old nastiness out. Okay, we're gonna add a little grease in there and put it back together on this side. Okay, let's also look at this. Okay, it's a little out of whack. That's its natural. It's in its natural state right now, way up here. So we're gonna need to try to reshape this just slightly out. Okay, now let's put it back there. And it feels better, but it doesn't feel great. So that leaves us to take apart the other side as well. We're going to do it one side at a time. That helps keep things balanced a little bit, keeps you from losing where things go. That feels much better, but it's not all the way there yet. Okay, now nothing on this actually rotates or does anything, so we don't need to grease or oil this cap. It's nothing but a dust cap. All right, let's go to this side. First off, we're going to go ahead and take the roller apart. And see how much dirt and grit is in there. Well, so far it looks pretty good. It's got a roller bearing inside there. Okay, but it doesn't look corroded or anything. Let's see how well it will turn. It turns well. So we're going to oil it good. And we'll put it right back in. Like so. And this part is nice and clean. And it goes right back in as well. All right, I see no grit in this roller bearing at all. But what I do see is an alignment issue. See how it doesn't want to line up properly? What we're going to do is we're going to slightly bend this bale wire so that it lines up better. And that'll help take some of the tension off of it and help it to flip easier. Okay, that should roll easy. It does. Okay. So far, so good. Beautiful. Okay, but I'm not feeling any grit anymore. But I do want to go ahead and take this cover off here and have a look under here. See what kind of spring action it actually has. All right, it's got a coil spring right there, and there's nothing in this that's got any grit or anything. So all I'm going to do, I don't even need to add any grease, but that grease is pretty old, so I'm going to go ahead and put some new grease down in there, like so. And we'll go ahead, snap that back into place. And I'm not going to take this end apart. We'll leave it. But at least we made sure that that was clean. It's got good fresh grease in it. All right. And there we go. Now, we're going to put this black washer back on. This is a fabric washer. It's going to slide back onto here like this. And we've got a roller bearing. It goes right there, and it's still free turning. We're going to go ahead to help keep it free turning and add another drink of oil to it. And then we're going to step into this guy and see if we can't get it open. Get the drag washers out, and I believe the tool we're going to want for this is going to be this little jeweler screwdriver. Put a finger over top of this as you pry it out of there, because otherwise it may take off and go on a trip. Wow, that is a really, really strong spring. I'm going to have a lot of fun getting it back in there. Okay. I've got it out 2/3 of the way. There we go. All right, that is a really nice strong snap ring. Okay, and okay, this reel has got felt washers. And yep, that's a keyed washer down there. And that one doesn't want to come out. But I believe it should. Okay, that one looks like it stays in. Since it doesn't do anything but lock, then that's okay for it to stay in. Okay, let's take our felt washers and separate them from the metal washers. Okay. So we've got a hexagon-shaped washer down on the bottom that doesn't want to come out, and that's okay because it's its correct position, so it's not going to matter. Okay, we're going to set a felt washer now in on top of that. And I'm going to liberally oil that one. And then I'm going to set this round keyed washer back in there, and it's keyed because it's got this little keyway on the center shaft or in the center hole. Put that in, doesn't matter which way it goes, up or down. Then goes the next felt washer. And oil it. Then goes this hexagon shaped washer, and you can see it's got to fit in so that it not locks in. One more felt washer. This is the last of them. Oil that. And then the last keyed washer goes in. Like so. And now we get the pleasure of putting this snap ring right back in. Now, if this snap ring happened to shoot across the room and get lost, the world does not come to an end. This reel will function perfectly well without that in there. The only thing that's purpose is when you take this apart, it keeps all this from falling apart. So why they use such a horrendously large washer for this. I don't know. Or snap ring, I don't know, but they did. So we're going to start working on getting it back down in there. Okay. Put the one end into the slot and then start prying it a little. There we go. And it's back in. We're going to set that back on the shaft. Oh, before we do that, let's come back and add a drop of oil to the clicker down here so that it can free flow. And those do have a tendency to get rusty. Okay, rotate this around until it falls into place. Put the knob back on. And we're going to zoom back out. As nice looking as that little clicker is, it's kind of quiet. All right, we're going to come back now. One thing we haven't done is we haven't oiled this seam right here. Okay, and now I'm going to do one quick wipe down of the whole reel, removing any excess oils that are on it. And there you have the Mitchell 308X Gold model that belongs to Paul. I'm going to be putting it back in the mail to Paul tomorrow. I see a little bit of dust and dirt that I have missed on the rotor. We'll see about cleaning that off right now. Paul, I hope you're happy that we've gotten this done. I know you had to wait for me to get back from my vacation. This got here a few days before I left, and so I wasn't able to do it until now. As a matter of fact, I even swung some fishing trips in there on him before I got to it. But there it is, Paul. I hope you're happy with it. I hope you guys like this video. If you do, please hit the like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. But please tell me what it is you didn't like about the video. And if you'd like to see further videos like this and you are not currently subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. For now, that's Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, signing out.